She shoved the papers into my chest the moment I stepped out of my truck. "You're being sued for unpaid HOA dues," she snapped, loud enough for the whole street to hear. I looked at her, stunned for a second, because I didn't even live in their neighborhood. I lived on the land next to it. Before I could say anything, Karen lifted her phone like she was signaling backup and shouted, "You can't ignore us anymore. We own this entire area now." People stopped walking. A few residents peeked out their windows. She wanted a scene, and she was getting one. I stayed still, but my hands tightened around the papers. They had stamped it like it was real court paperwork, claiming I owed 2 years of dues, late fees, and even community violation penalties. I almost laughed, but then something else hit me. They listed my property inside their HOA map. That was impossible. My land had been in my family for 70 years, way before this community even existed. Karen stepped closer, almost whispering, "If you don't pay today, we'll force a lien on your house." She tapped her nails on my truck window like she owned it. The crowd murmured, believing her. That was the part that burned. Not the fake dues, but how confident she was lying in broad daylight, like she had already won. I took a slow breath. "You really want to do this?" I asked. She smirked. "Already did. Court date is in 2 weeks. And trust me, the judge always listens to us." For a moment, I didn't respond. I just looked at her. And she didn't realize she had already made her first mistake. Because the one thing she didn't know was that I had something they never expected. Something that would shake their whole HOA down to the ground. And I wasn't planning to warn her. "You should have checked whose land you're trespassing on," I said softly. Her smile froze. She wasn't expecting that. But it was too late now. Karen blinked fast, like she couldn't tell if I was bluffing or threatening her authority. But before she could answer, 2 more HOA board members walked up behind her, clipboards in hand, smiles that didn't reach their eyes. One of them, a tall man with a stiff posture, pointed at my driveway like he was surveying stolen property. "There it is," he said loudly. "Another violation. Unauthorized vehicle storage. My truck, on my own land." He wrote it down anyway. Karen folded her arms. "See? This is why we had to sue you. You keep pretending you're not part of this community. But the map was updated last month. Your land falls under us now." People nodded like sheep. They didn't know a single thing about property law. But Karen spoke with so much fake confidence that it sounded real. She raised her voice again, making sure all the neighbors heard. "He's been living for free off our services and roads. We're collecting what's owed." I almost smiled at that one. Their road didn't even reach my gate. Before I could react, Karen suddenly reached for her walkie-talkie. "Board security is on the way," she said, like it was some kind of SWAT team. "They'll document his property today. Judge will love it." That's when the real twist began. A black SUV rolled slowly down the street and parked beside us. People whispered, thinking it was her security team. Karen straightened up, lifted her chin proudly, and said, "Perfect timing. Here they come." The driver stepped out. The entire HOA board froze. Because it wasn't their security. It wasn't even from their community. It was someone I had called. Someone who knew exactly what this HOA had been doing for months. He walked over to me first, shook my hand, then turned to Karen with a blank stare that made her step back. "Ma'am," he said calmly, "I need all 3 of you to stop touching this man's property, right now." Karen sputtered, "Who are you? We didn't call you." He lifted a folder. and I saw the corner of the seal sticking out. Karen didn't. Not yet. And when she finally did, everything she had built on lies was about to collapse. The color drained from Karen's face the second she recognized the seal on that folder. It wasn't from the HOA. It wasn't from the county. It was from the state attorney's office. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. The tall clipboard guy shifted behind her, like he was trying to melt into the pavement. The officer looked at her calmly. "We've received multiple complaints about this HOA attempting to annex properties outside its legal boundary. Your names were mentioned in all of them." Karen tried to laugh it off. "Complaints? From who? These people lie all the time." He cut her off without raising his voice. "Ma'am, the complaints include video evidence. You and your board members have been issuing fake fines and fake notices." People around us gasped. A woman holding her dog took a step back. Someone whispered, "Fake fines? Is that even legal?" The officer didn't answer. He didn't need to. Karen jabbed a finger at me. "He's the one lying. His land is part of our HOA. We updated our map." The officer opened the folder and held up an old document. My grandfather's signature was right there on the bottom corner, dated decades before any houses here existed. "This land," the officer said, turning so everyone could see, "was registered as a separate parcel long before Meadow Ridge HOA was created. You have no authority over it." He flipped to another page. "And according to county records, your updated map was never approved. It was handwritten by you." Karen's jaw actually trembled. The crowd murmured louder now, some in shock, some quietly angry. Everything she had bragged about was falling apart right in front of them. But she still wasn't done. She stepped forward, lowering her voice, like she thought she could still intimidate me. "You think this is over? We already filed the lawsuit. The judge will force you to pay. This paperwork can't save you." That was her final mistake. The officer slid another document out of the folder and handed it to me. "Actually, this is why I'm here. You're going to need this at your hearing." I opened it, and even though I knew something big was coming, the truth still hit like lightning. Inside was evidence I had never seen before. Emails, signatures, HOA board meeting notes, all proving the HOA had targeted not just me, but 6 other landowners outside their boundaries too. And the biggest twist? Those notes showed they already knew they had no legal right to sue any of us. Karen grabbed for the folder, desperate. "This is fake. He's not allowed to—" "Ma'am," the officer said, his voice turning sharp for the first time. "Interfere again and you'll be detained." Everyone went silent. Karen looked at me like she finally realized the ground under her feet was cracking open. She had no idea the judge was about to see every lie she ever wrote. Karen showed up to court like she always walked into every argument, loud, confident, and convinced she couldn't lose. Her board members followed behind her, whispering rehearsed lines about community interest and neighborhood standards. But I could see the fear underneath. They knew what was in that folder. They just didn't know how fast it would destroy them. The judge came in, an older man with tired eyes who looked like he'd dealt with too many HOA cases in his life. He scanned the room, glanced at me, then at Karen, and something in his expression tightened, like he already sensed trouble. Karen jumped to her feet before the judge even said her name. "Your Honor, this homeowner has refused to pay dues for 2 years, violated multiple rules, and—" The judge raised a hand. "Ma'am, sit. I haven't asked you to speak yet. Her mouth fell open. The board members exchanged looks. The room stayed painfully quiet. Then the judge turned to me. You filed an objection, correct? Yes, Your Honor, I said, handing him the folder the state attorney's officer had given me. He opened it, and everything changed. He read the first page, then the second. By the fifth page, his face had gone stone cold. He looked up at Karen. You filed this lawsuit knowing his land is not, and has never been, part of your HOA? Karen tried to recover. We updated our boundaries. With a pen, the judge snapped. On a photocopy of the old map, without approval. He flipped another page. And you fined 6 other families the same way. The courtroom murmured. Karen swallowed hard. The judge leaned forward. Did you or did you not send notices that claimed legal authority you do not have? Her voice cracked. We were trying to keep standards. That is not an answer. Silence. She knew she was done. Then came the line that made the entire courtroom freeze. Your Honor, I said quietly, I believe they targeted us because they thought we were easy to intimidate. Karen spun toward me, eyes wide. She knew exactly what was coming next. The judge nodded slowly. I see that. And based on these documents, the HOA board knowingly operated outside its charter, fabricated fines, misrepresented boundaries, and attempted to seize authority over private land. He closed the folder with a soft thud that sounded like a hammer. Therefore, this lawsuit is dismissed with prejudice. Karen gasped. The board members stiffened, but the judge wasn't finished. Furthermore, he continued, I am ordering an immediate investigation into the Meadow Ridge HOA board for fraud, boundary manipulation, and misuse of authority. Karen collapsed back into her seat, shaking her head. No, you can't. This isn't fair. The judge's voice cut through everything. You abused homeowners. You lied to this court. And by the power of this bench, I am dissolving the Meadow Ridge HOA effective today. The room erupted. Karen's scream echoed as she shot to her feet. You can't dissolve us. We run this community. The judge didn't even look at her. Not anymore. 2 deputies stepped forward as she kept yelling, insisting she still had power. But nobody listened. Not the residents, not the board, not even the people who once feared her. The whole fantasy she ruled over had collapsed in one morning. As I walked out of the courtroom, one of the deputies nodded at me. Good thing you kept your cool, he said. People like her, they think power means control. I looked back at the emptying courtroom. Karen was still arguing, still refusing to accept that it was over. It never does, I said. Real power is knowing the truth and letting it speak for itself. And when I stepped outside into the sunlight, the first thing I saw were the family she had bullied, smiling for the first time in years. Justice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. But today, it was strong enough to bring down an entire HOA.